Hey all, here at osmvtxreviews.com. You're watching our video first look of the TUFTAB V7112XT. For a full video review, please come back to our website here at YouTube or our full website in a couple of weeks and we'll launch our official review. The interesting about the TUFTAB, it's actually a UMPC and not a tablet PC. The distinction between the two is actually quite often neglected and I think kind of similar, and that's the reason why a lot of people kind of use those terms interchangeably. Whereas tablet PC is kind of becoming the norm these days, UMPCs was kind of the hot term back when this device was first released. UMPCs tend to have a smaller screen real estate than actual tablet TVs, and in this case, the TUFTAB actually has a 7-inch screen. Now, in today's standards, a lot of Android-based tablets actually have 7-inch screens and above, but I think the distinction between tablet PCs and UMPCs is again that screen real estate, and the fact that UMPCs are basically just the same thing as a laptop or a netbook, but they're shrunken down to a smaller screen real estate, whereas tablet PCs might not necessarily be a real pocket computer. They can actually contain mobile versions such as Linux or Android OS or iOS, which aren't fully functioning versions of computers. However, again, a UMPC is basically just a laptop shrunken down to this super small 5-inch or 7-inch size. So that means that not all UMPCs are touchscreens. Now, luckily, the TUFTAB actually does have a touchscreen display. So again, it kind of blurs the lines between a tablet PC and a UMPC. Taking a look at the specific V7112 series, this specific model is kind of unique because as out of the manufacturer's company, you can actually choose the device to be installed with various versions of Windows on board. For example, Windows XP Tablet Edition, or perhaps we have Windows Vista installed on ours. They can also install Windows 7 and also Windows 8, which is pretty impressive. Now, the touchscreen on this device is made out of a resistive material. Unlike a capacitive sensor, that means you have to use a stylus or your fingernails to kind of get into the screen and make it actually understand where you're tapping. And so it takes a little bit more pressure for the device to actually recognize what you're doing. That's one of the negatives. But it also makes sense in hindsight of this particular model because the TUFTAB, as the name suggests, is a military specified rugged UMPC or a rugged tablet, and this means it's resistant to dust, it's resistant to light rain, and so when you're taking it out in the field for a lot of testing purposes, you can actually hinder it by maybe dropping it or even splashing it around, and it won't break, it won't have any issues because it is kind of ruggedly built by military specifications, which is certainly good. And in that kind of case where you're kind of in construction zones or danger zones when you're using this device, you're most likely going to be using it with gloves, and as a result, it's not going to be really easy to tap the screen using a capacitive sensor, so here we have a resistive sensor. Other features of the device is the fact that it has a 1.2 GHz VIA C7M ULV processor. This is a very energy efficient processor. It allows the device to basically power on and off without too much charge. It has a 40 GB hard drive, which is a little bit limited, but you can expand that via a SD card reader as well as via external hard drive by USB standards. There's also 1 GB of RAM, which is pretty good for a UMPC, which again is just a pocket computer. And again, the device has Wi-Fi BNG as well as Bluetooth 2.0 and also has EDR support. And the device is also capable of running Linux in case you want to use that functionality design on board. And that's basically as far as the processor speeds are concerned. So it's a pretty mid-range UMPC as far as specs are concerned. Nothing too powerful, but at the same time, it's very small. Compared to something, for example, like a fully functional tablet, we have over here, this is actually a smart cover for the iPad 2. This is 9.7 inches, so you can get a feeling of the fact that UMPC's a fully functioning computer is very small, but at the same time, it's also very powerful, just comparing with some more relevant screen real estate, like on a 10-inch screen. So otherwise, the device has a 400 MHz front side bus. It also has a biometric fingerprint reader on the front, which allows you to set passwords to a better degree. There's also a 1.3 megapixel front-facing webcam for self-chatting applications like Skype and other programs ready to talk and take self-portraits. And in addition, there is a 8-channel HD audio built onto this device. There's also supports S3 and S4 power states, and the battery on here is a 4-cell battery. It's a rechargeable lithium iron one. You can see on the back it protrudes quite a bit, but it also provides a nice slope for you to type on and see the screen when it's lying flat. Otherwise, the device, again, there's a dual view plus support. The screen resolution of the screen itself is actually 800 by 600, but can support up to 1024 by 600 resolution. And the screen rotation is supported, but there isn't an accelerometer. You have to actually use a physical control button to switch the screen orientation, unfortunately. And that's basically as far as specs are concerned. Taking a closer look at the design, again, it's made out of this soft touch material, so it's a very rugged feel in the hand. It isn't a huge fingerprint magnet, which is really good. The screen is also coated in a matte finish, so it's not going to glare even under very direct sunlight, which is also pretty good. Another thing to note is that the viewing angles are very, very good, and also the screen brightness and saturation levels are also very impressive. The fact that the device, however, is running a full version of Windows using a touchscreen interface is a little bit concerning on a 7-inch screen on this UMPC, and that's because a lot of the icons are just so tiny. So we really prefer EO TUFTAB to just install Windows 8 right out of the gate instead of something like Windows Vista, because here you can see how small the icons are. And just like kind of typing with the virtual keyboard is kind of a nuisance because, again, you have to really tap around just to get some of the buttons working. Of the front here, you also have a few hotkeys. Over here is the optical trackpad. It's also to move the mouse around, which is kind of nice. There's also an icon to turn and to take out the virtual keyboard, battery indication. There's some indication about the power, Wi-Fi, and the battery life. There, again, is aforementioned biometric fingerprint reader. The top is actually where the stylus is housed. We've taken that out for the moment. And on the right-hand side, there's a power on and off switch, a reset hole, and behind this cover here, we have a PCM-Acia card slot, which is actually something we haven't seen a lot in recent UMPCs and tablets or computers, because it's something that was actually released and more popular when older PCs in the early 2000s were first released, especially for devices that didn't have native Wi-Fi built in. You could actually have a PCM-Acia Wi-Fi or GPS module and extend capabilities in terms of wireless options. So to see that here is kind of strange. Otherwise, there's an SD card reader here as well as a USB 2.0 port on the side. The bottom of the device features a proprietary dock connector for extending the usage of this particular model. And also here, we also have a dock for the device to actually prop up and sit on its, to actually sit up. So you basically extend this like so, and then you lift it up, and then you can actually sit the EO TUFTAB at this position, so you can actually view images, view photos, view videos, and browse the web in a more comfortable, traditionalized view. And you can even put a wireless keyboard to start typing just like a real laptop, which is kind of nice. So it has this prop on the side, in addition to having a prop kind of on the back. So it has multiple views that are pretty good with the screen, which we're pretty impressed on EO TUFTAB's part. Otherwise, on the left-hand side of the device, we have access to a LAN port for linked internet. There's also a 3.5mm headphone jack port, a secondary USB 2.0 port, a VGA port for connecting to an external monitor or projector, and the power port. The aforementioned battery lasts around 4 hours before you have to recharge it, which is pretty decent, and we found out that was about accurate. So for such a small laptop, it's a pretty impressive specs in terms of that department. EO TUFTAB, again, it's one of those manufacturers that exclusivizes in this very ruggedized environment. It's by Tabletkiosk, as you can see here. And of course, the downside of having such a rugged design, it's not very utilitarian. And so when you're using it in more modern environments, it's a little bit chunky, very kind of large. But again, it's also very durable, and it feels very well constructed in the hand. Of course, no creaking or cracks when you're using it. As far as overheating is concerned, it gets a little bit hot in the back, and the fan definitely kicks in here and there. But as a very energy-efficient VIA processor on board that we talked about, the device tends to be pretty cool most of the time, which is pretty good. So the fan noise is pretty minimal as far as that area department is considered, and you can also see the fan on the very back. And that's basically it as far as the main hardware stuff is concerned. And we'll take a closer look in part 2 of this video review of the performance of this EO TUFTAB UMPC. So thanks for watching here at osmvtxreviews.com. It's part 1 of our Tabletkiosk EO TUFTAB V7112XT tablet PC.